Welcome to Rappahannock Issues. I'm Tom Cohen,
And I'm David Kerr.
and we're going to be looking at topics that are of interest to our community, both regionally and to the state. Welcome to Rappahannock Issues. I'm Tom Cohen. We're here with our power panel to talk about what everybody that is in government and politics loves to do. We talk about the presidents. And so we have with us Dr. Stephen Farnsworth from University of Mary Washington and co-host David Kerr, renowned columnist and excellent knowledge of our nation's capital, and then myself, and I'm an adjunct over at VCU on political science. It just seems to be that ranking presidents in that, it seems to be an American fixation. I don't remember hearing that any other country is sort of obsessed with this mentality. That's sort of the truth. You two have traveled way more than I have.
You get a little of it over in Britain, but there's not the same aura over there to the prime minister as there is to the president. Not elected directly by the people, or semi-directly as we do it. So yeah, there's nobody quite like it.
Well, I guess the first thing to do is to state what is our criteria when we're looking at a president, decide whether they're great, good, fair, poor, whatever. So we'll start with Stephen. What's your criteria?
Well, I think the first thing to appreciate is that this is going to be fundamentally an unfair process, because to look at these different presidents, it's important to remember that they faced very different circumstances. Abraham Lincoln, for example, he was either going to be the best American president or the worst, because he was the president when the Civil War broke out, and how he handled that would really be the decision of that. Other presidents who may have been very capable simply came in times of peace or quiet, and that meant that they didn't have the chance to engage in what the Bill Clinton team once called the Mount Rushmore Project. There was no Mount Rushmore Project in Bill Clinton's 8 years, and so he distracted himself in other ways. But there is the fundamental reality when you talk about the American presidency that part of it is going to follow what circumstance. The best presidents are the ones who handled the crisis well. The worst presidents are the ones who handled it badly, and the presidents that make neither list are the ones who probably didn't have a crisis to start with.
Okay. David?
Well, I think Dr. Farnsworth kind of captures it. If leadership in a crisis is where you really distinguish yourself. Personality, people like a president or they don't like a president. Jimmy Carter was not very popular with people, was kind of grated on some people. I actually really liked him. But that sometimes is a factor rating a president. A lot of the Kennedy mystique was the personality, the aura and the presence. Franklin Roosevelt's ability to connect with people via radio. It was a likability factor. And that's not necessarily a measure of their performance in office, but it does contribute to how we rank them.
I generally have 4 criteria. One is, do they follow the Constitution, because that's what they swear to uphold. And my mentality is sort of the actual Constitution, not that when they decide they want to do something, then they decide the Constitution allows them to do it. And more of a strict constructionist view. Second, do their policies fit the times? It seems a little inequitable to sit there and judge somebody who served in the 1800s by ethics and values and how we view the president in the 21st century. Next is how they handle crises, both foreign and domestic. And then lastly, how they handle scandals, whether they have one in their administration or it's tangentially, and then what do they do with it. And so that's where I sort of go. So we'll start, David. Who do you think is the best president?
Well, I had put Lincoln right at the top. And not too far off from what Dr. Farnsworth was talking about in his criteria. He brought together, in my mind, that by improvisation, by wit, by skill, by trial and error, whatever was needed to preserve the Union. And it was not a steady affair, but I'm not too sure anybody else could have done it. And in that sense, George Washington set the precedent. Abraham Lincoln sort of reinvented the country as a more unified nation after a terrible civil war. It probably matters to some extent that he was assassinated, because there's a tendency, as we did with John Kennedy, to take a president and make him into an icon, almost a sainthood, if you will, by virtue of your being killed in office. It's not likely that Abraham Lincoln would have done as well had he served out his second term. John Kennedy was popular with had a 43% popularity, or maybe a little higher than that. When after he was killed, 75% thought he was the greatest president ever. So I accept all that as qualifications. Nonetheless, I think he was people say Theodore Roosevelt invented the modern presidency. To a large extent, I think Lincoln.
Stephen?
Well, I found it really hard to pick one. I think Lincoln is on the list, but I came up with a three-way tie. I think that it's important to appreciate the extent to which George Washington really established the presidency and established a perspective of what the United States represented. I mean, in some ways, again, in the matter of circumstance, one of the best things about George Washington